Hey guys, my name is James Walsh, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. I want to thank you for finding us. Please do me a favor and click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. And if you get the chance on this video, click the like button. If you do, it'll turn blue. Check it out. Also, check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for all this great content available in MP3 format, our online store that'll keep us going free and clear, daily news updates, as well as all the information from the history of professional wrestling you could possibly ever want. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com online right now. Without any delay, let's get to your interview here on the Wrestling Epicenter.
Welcome back to the interactive interview right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. On the Newsmaker line is one of the wrestlers that's going to be appearing at the Staten Island Super Sign, and a guy that's been around for a long time and somehow never made it to our show. So welcome, Brimstone. Brim, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you guys feeling tonight?
We're doing great. It's great to have you on the program finally. So why don't we start out? We just had Francine on just a few minutes ago, and we figured we'd wrap this show up with a longer interview with somebody we never had on before. Francine used to co-host one of our shows, so it was kind of more of a touching base with her kind of thing. But basically, what are you expecting from the Staten Island Super Sign?
I'm expecting big things. I'm very excited for the Super Sign. I think that we're going to have an amazing turnout that day. The talent is unbelievable who we're going to have down there that day. Obviously, yours truly is going to be down there. We've got my brother from another mother. We got Brutus the Barber Beefcake coming down. Christy Hemmy's coming down. Balls is going to be down there. Gorgeous George, who hasn't been down this way in quite a long time. ODB from TNA, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So I'm very excited for it. I think we're going to have a great turnout and have a good time.
Absolutely.
You know, this is going to sound horrible, but every time I hear Gorgeous George, I keep thinking of the old wrestler from the 50s.
Me too, usually.
Yeah. Well, you know what? She had her time in WCW, and good for her. I mean, she made some money, and apparently she's still making money, so good for her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. We should have introduced you as the main man of the wasteland. I heard that theme song. It was pretty damn cool right there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So give us a little bit of background. We know a lot about you being from the Northeast initially. I know a lot about your career, but give us a little bit of background on the character. Where did the idea for the Brimstone character come about?
Basically, you know, when I had first started training over at the Doghouse in Queens, New York, rest in peace, basically, you know, I wanted a name that was going to be cool, that was going to be marketable and memorable all at the same time, because coming from a sales background, I always said, you know what, if I'm going to do it, I got to do it right. So, you know, I was just going name after name after name, and you know what, a lot of the good names were taken, and a lot of good gimmicks were taken, and, you know, I'm a big old-school 80s type of guy for as far as wrestling's concerned, and music. And, you know, I loved the old-school gimmicks where everybody came out and they had a gimmick, you know, where you had The Undertaker, you know, you had, you know, Shawn Michaels was the cocky guy, you had the Junkyard Dog, you had, you know, Hulk Hogan. So, you know, I, you know, went through, you know, every single thing I possibly could, and I came up with Brimstone, and I said, you know what, I love it. I said, it's not being used, and, you know, I went from there, and, you know, just about 13 years later now, it's it's still the name, and I'm using it to basically brand it. So it worked out well.
Very cool. Now, the rumor is that you actually decided you wanted to be a wrestler because you met at a chance meeting with Bret Hart and the Iron Sheik. Any truth to that rumor?
Actually, it is true. A long time ago, I used to work for a company called the Long Island Voice, which was the sister company of the Village Voice, which I'm sure everybody's heard of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know, I was there, I was sales, and, you know, they knew I was very interested in wrestling, and they knew that, you know, I liked, you know, photography because I, you know, do that on the side. I like to, you know, take pictures. So they said, hey, do you want to go down and cover this convention? I said, sure, I'll definitely go down and cover it. And, you know, I heard that Bret Hart was going to be there. I heard the Sheik was going to be down there. I heard, you know, Axe was going to be down there from Demolition. And, you know, I said, absolutely, I'm going to do it. Went down there, and basically to take photos for a story that was being written. And, you know, I happened to sit and bump into the Sheik, and we were sitting and talking, and he says in the only way the Sheik can, you look like you could be a wrestler, you know? And, you know, he said, you know, you should train. And so I said, I'd love to, you know. I said, you going to teach me, you know? And he said, absolutely. We work it out. And then, you know, we went back and forth. And Eric Sims, I'm sure you know who Eric Sims is.
Yep.
It's the Sheik's manager and agent, for lack of a better term. And, you know, he started talking money and this, that, and the next thing. And back then, you know, I was young. I didn't have, you know, all that much to sit and sit around. And the Sheik was living, I believe it was in Georgia at the time. He might still be there. I don't remember where he lives. But it just wasn't going to be possible. So I wound up, you know, thanking him and saying, you know, I appreciate the vote of confidence there. And on the way, you know, walking towards, I think it might have been Sunny, I know, because I know Tammy was there. Brett actually pulled me to the side, which was shocking. And, you know, because I grew up watching Bret Hart. And he said to me, he goes, hey, if you're really interested in becoming, you know, a wrestler, you know, please let me know if you have any questions. Maybe I could point you in the right direction. And, you know, we were sitting and we were talking about it for a couple of minutes, and he was on his way out. He had to catch a flight back. So the handler for him was trying to get him out the door, and he was actually telling him, no, you know, hold on, I'm busy right this second. I'm talking to this guy right here. And which was, I was like in awe at the time. And, you know, he gave me his email address. He said, hey, if you want to get into business, you know, please just feel free to ask me any questions you want. Never expected that in a million years. So Brett and I went back and forth, you know, for a while, and I'd found the Doghouse in a local publication, not a local publication, a wrestling publication. I think it might have even been PWI. And I said, hey, what do you think of this school? And he goes, looks good. You know, I think you should check it out. And the rest is history. So, yeah, that's how I got into wrestling. Not many people actually know that, but that's the whole deal. And I haven't spoken to Brett in years. He probably wouldn't remember me even if I did. But, you know, it was a very big, it was an impact on obviously the whole Brimstone career.
Now, that had to be a vote of confidence. Sir, go ahead, Pat.
Okay, well, one thing we wanted to ask you about was, and this has been something we've discussed with our recent guests, Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch. We've noticed that the WWE hasn't been focused as much attention on tag team wrestling, but you obviously have some experience as part of Critical Mass and the Carnival of Destruction. How do you feel about the WWE's lack of focus on tag team wrestling?
You know, I think it's a shame because it's a lost art. You know, I think tag wrestling is just unbelievable. You know, it doesn't get better than tag wrestling. Again, it's a lost art. You know, just like wrestling for the most part in the WWE. I really shouldn't have said that, but it's the truth. You know, for the most part, you know, there's just such a psychology to it that, you know, people just don't use or they just don't get it anymore. And, you know, I've always enjoyed doing tag. I love being a singles worker as well, but, you know, tag, there's something about it that's just special.
Absolutely. Now, I got to ask you this, though. It had to be a vote of confidence when Brett took you aside, because Brett's not exactly known for being a people person. He's kind of known.
Very strange. I mean, I didn't expect it. I mean, and you know, I figured, all right, well, you know, oh God, the agent or the manager or the handler, whoever he was trying to get him out the door, and he said, just, you're gonna have to wait a minute. I was floored, and yeah, you know, it was great. I mean, I wish I never lost touch with him. It was an honor to have been, you know, helped out, even if it was just a little, by one of the greatest in the business ever. So yeah, it was just, I was floored.
And Shiki never tried to get you humble, did he?
No, I love Sheik. What do you call it? We every time we see each other, you know, always got to get the big hug. He's the man. I love him to death. You know, he's out of his bird, but he's the best. He's the best.
All right. Now, when did this Who Wants to Be a WWE Superstar come about, and how did you end up being part of that?
Well, that was years and years and years ago. they basically were kind of doing, it was like the catalyst for Tough Enough, from what I believe. And what they did was they put out a search for any worker that wanted to, try to get a shot, I guess, at WWE. Of course, it was WWF at the time. And we went out there in droves. They put it out into all the schools, and they put it out there for casting calls and so forth. And, people just lined up. I mean, there was literally at least 1,000 people there that day, just lined up and just right outside the MTV building. Now, they didn't let anybody in until they were good and ready. We were out there. People were changing into their gimmicks out in the street. I was slick. I actually went to the diner across the way and changed in the bathroom. But it was an interesting deal. And we wound up going there. We waited literally, like I said, for hours. We went in. We finally got in. Went through the process. I mean, it was crazy the way they had things set up in there. I think I got a little off topic, but am I going the right direction, I hope?
Hey, wherever you want to take it, go for it.
We went in. I actually was there with Mayhem, Lord Clarence McDougal, Rex Rockwell, a couple of members from Critical Mass, and we went in there together as a group, and quickly people were getting eliminated, and I went down one hallway, two of my friends went down another hallway. I went down this hallway, another 3 friends went down the other hallway. And, I wound up doing I cut a promo, and, I was actually there with another friend, and they said, look, we can either take you as a team or we can take you single. And we suggest we take you by yourself. And I said, all right, I guess take me by myself, and they eliminated the other person I was with, and they put me through to the semifinals. And it was like it was kind of ridiculous because we were in there, and they didn't have, I guess, authority from the New York State Athletic Commission at the time, and they had a boxing, like a half-cut boxing ring. I mean, you're talking in the TRL studio, which is kind of really small. They had the boxing ring cut down, and we were sitting and wrestling a dummy in the ring. It wasn't, we couldn't even work each other. So it was kind of a little ridiculous. But
I did see you scoop slam the red dummy thing. I don't know what.
Yeah, it was the most pathetic thing I've ever done in my entire life, but it was one of the things that I've ever done. You know what I mean? At the same time,
it kind of reminded me when I was a kid. I used to have like a Ryan Sandberg stuffed toy that I used to just throw around the living room. It kind of reminded me of that.
It was so silly, man. But you know what? It is what it is. Mick was there. That was the first time that I had the opportunity to meet Mick, and he and I actually told him not too long ago, how he actually inspired me to continue to stay in the business. He called me over during the filming, because they only took little pieces of what we were doing in there. He called me over and he goes, I think you look terrific. He's like, I think you're great. He's like, given you are working with a dummy, and then he started requesting us to do moves to the dummy. So, I did that, and then we spoke for a little bit longer in the back, and, years later, now, we're doing events together. So it's pretty crazy, how things work out.
Did you ever hope to get to the WWE?
It was a dream. It's always everybody's dream to begin with. And, as you live and you learn, you kind of see what's out there and what's going on. And I would never say that I would never go to the WWE, but I wouldn't say that I'd love to go to the WWE. I got mixed feelings on that, kind of remain, everything remains to be seen. Of course, in this business, you never say never. So, I'm not upset that I never made it there, and I'm not upset that, and it's hard. I did make it. I mean, I was on WWF Superstars. You know what I mean? I did that whole deal, and there were talks. I was in talks with Kevin Kelly back then, but it was not the right situation for me.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Exactly.
Not the right situation.
Well, the other major wrestling company around is TNA, and you were spotted backstage in 2007 for a couple of their shows. Were there ever any talks of bringing you into TNA at one point?
Well, yeah, there were a little bit of discussions going on there. Again, it's the same type of situation. It all comes down to dollars and cents and what's going to make sense for me. And right now I've got a lot of celebrity going on with, the movies and the kind of television shows that I'm in the process of getting involved with, and the books, the comic books, So for me to have made a move then at that point made no sense to me. If I was to go to one or the other, I would want to go to TNA. I think it's the better deal and the better schedule for what I'm looking to do. But at the same time, right now, being on TV with TNA once a week is not going to do wonders for me for what I'm looking to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, you mentioned, I know for a fact that you're hanging out a lot lately with Bumblefoot, the guitarist from Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
What's going on with that? You guys have anything in the works?
We got a couple things that we've been talking about, but, nothing too crazy that I could really discuss. He's just a very good friend. We hang out as much as humanly possible for two people with two ridiculous schedules. We've been doing a bunch of different things together, like we just did a Get a Voice program for a couple of schools in a school district here on Long Island, which was very successful. It was Bumblefoot, myself, Claire Unabia from America's Next Top Model, John Hamm from the New York Dragons football team, and Jose Hernandez Jr. from HBO's Oz, Law & Order, Fringe, and so forth. And that was very successful. Bumble and I have hosted a bunch of events together. It's not like we have fun together. You know what I mean? We're kind of two peas in the pod, two peas in the same. So it's a fun thing. I know that like a lot of media had dubbed us the Rock and Wrestling Connection, the new Rock and Wrestling Connection, which was pretty cool. It's very very funny, and I actually told Captain Lou about that, and he laughed. He laughed. He goes, bless you, brother. So. But we've got a couple of things that we're talking about that maybe we're going to do, and I can't let them out there just yet.
Now, you did do some other TV appearances aside from wrestling, but more about wrestling. I actually just watched before the interview your appearance
a long time ago. Loved doing that show because it was about something that I'm very passionate about. I'm very against the backyard wrestling thing. Always have been, always will be, because I always feel that there's too much that can happen to people doing this in their backyards. They're not trained. They're not in a professional ring. They're not in a professional environment, and all that could come out of that is trouble. So
not only that, though, they're not trying to do hammer locks.
Right.
I did one backyard wrestling show in my entire life, and I wrestled the first match, and they pretty much didn't tell me if it was shoot or reel, so I kind of just mat wrestled the guy.
Right.
And they wanted me to wrestle again later in the night, and I just sat there watching some of the matches, and I thought, this looks nuts. And I saw a guy jump at the top of a ladder doing basically Doink's little sit move off the top of a ladder, and the kid started crying. I thought, okay, that's enough for me. I'm out of here.
I've seen these kids hitting each other with anything from 2x4s to trash cans to putting each other through flaming tables. Now I wouldn't want to do certain things. You know what I mean? And I'm a professional. I know how to do it. For these kids who are untrained, and most of the time the parents aren't even watching. They're not paying attention. What happens? Somebody could get impaled. Somebody could get major burns on them. Who knows? Anything can happen. They could lose an eye. Lose their life. So when I had the opportunity, I got called for the Ricky Lake show. I took the opportunity to go in there and basically speak out against it. Stevie Ray was also on the show.
Very cool.
What do you call it? And a real funny story is, when we went into the back, we went to the green room, and as Stevie and I walked into the green room, you should have seen all these backyard kids' faces. They just went white.
Uh-oh.
We walked in there, we were just like, hey, we're here to talk, and they were just, You know, we basically said, hey, look, if you want to do this, you know, and you want to do this, and you really feel that you know, wrestling is for you, get out of the backyards. We'll work something out. You know, we'll help you. We'll train you. We'll do whatever we need to do to make it available to you. If you're in a different area, you know, we'll find a school for you to go to. You know,
Right.
Two of the people on the show actually did take me up on the offer, and I found them locations to train at. So, what do you call it? At least I got 2 out of the million out of the backyard, and 2 out of a million ain't bad, you know, for that type of situation.
Now, you did run a school of your own. Sorry, Pat. Go ahead, Pat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now, for the kids that do the backyard wrestling, what do they tell you? Is like, what kind of logic do they have for wanting to do something like that?
They think they're going to go to work for Vince. They think it's the easy way out. You know, they're going to go work for Vince, and you know, they're going to see me, and I don't have to go to train. You know, people, you know, they're kids, man. They don't know any better.
The stupid thing is, you know how many tapes they probably get there at Vince at the corporate office every day of some kid doing a moonsault off a trampoline, thinking that they're going to impress Vince McMahon with it.
Yeah, look, Vince McMahon is looking for a look, and he's looking for the way somebody speaks, and he's looking for you know, somebody who can tell a story in the ring. That's what he's looking for. He's not looking for somebody who's going to do high-risk maneuvers every 2 minutes, or pretend to jump off or not pretend to actually jump off a garage, you know, onto a mattress. You know, I'm sure that Vince would prefer not to have as many high-risk maneuvers because, hey, what happens if you get hurt? Then one of his top guys is out for X amount of months. So, you know, that type of stuff does not impress him, I'm sure.
Now, you ran.
That's why Hulk Hogan was so valuable.
Yeah.
Because he didn't do much at all, but, you know, he could always get the crowd interested in whatever it was he was doing.
Absolutely.
He did what he had to do, and he's the master of doing the least, getting the most out of the least.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And one of my personal heroes. There you go. I always take the time to defend him every time I can.
Look, Hulk Hogan is an icon.
Yep.
If it weren't for guys like Hulk Hogan, you know, I would not be where I am today, you know, and doing what I'm doing. You know, because he's also, aside from being an icon in pro wrestling, he's gone on and he's done everything possible to market himself, to make himself mainstream. And that's, you know, my goal. That's where I want to be, is to be a mainstream icon as opposed to just wrestling. Because what happens is, you know, you have to have your hands in as many cookie jars as possible because, you know, you know, wrestling is great. It's wonderful, and I love it, and, you know, it brought me to the dance. But at the same time, you know, you just get so pigeonholed. And, you know, what happens after wrestling? You know what I mean? What happens when you're too old to wrestle? Do you really want to be wrestling when you're 65 years old, you know, like some other people that are out there? You know, maybe, you know, but at the same time, I'd rather preserve my body and do things that, you know, are going to go out there and get mainstream media attention.
And you're doing some of those now. You mentioned them briefly, but there's also a comic book coming out, is there not?
Yeah, I have my comic book called The Border Hounds. It's actually based on my character, and that should be coming out very, very soon. We're in talks with a couple different companies. We're just trying to decide how we want to put it out because there have been a couple of really, really cool ideas. You know, that we're trying to do, you know, the right thing that's going to work the best. We're in talks about potentially doing an animated Border Hound series with a very large company. So, you know, what we might do is release the comic book at the time that we put the animation out. We also are talking about doing action figures, so we might do something with the action figures and releasing the comic with the action figures. So, you know, there's a lot of different things that are going on. It's just everything has to be perfect. You know what I mean? I'm you know, as close to a perfectionist as possible when it comes to the Brimstone brand, and because, you know, that's my business, so I have to be. So, you know, we're trying to make sure that everything is just right, and that's what's going on right now with that. Actually, I'm signing also. We have the 7th. We're doing the Staten Island Super Sign, and then the 8th I'm doing the New York Comic Con. So it's, you know, the whole weekend's going to be a lot of. Hopefully, we're going to see a lot of fans out there supporting everything. And you know, please, anybody who comes down to the Staten Island Super Sign, let me know that you heard me here, and let me know that you came down from checking me out right here with you guys, and, you know, I definitely will take care of you.
Cool, cool. Let me ask you this question. You did mention that the doghouse was where you trained, and you also ran your own school. What's the status of the school? Because there's no real notes on the Wikipedia page of what's going on with the school.
Well, I had Critical Mass Pro Wrestling Corp. I was the guy who created it, along with the NYWC, which was the New York Wrestling Connection. Mm-hmm. Now, after years with, you know, the company, I had some personal issues with one of my partners, and we'll leave it at that. And, you know, now I'm doing bigger and better things, so I kind of left the company and left it behind. And now I work with PWR, which is Pro Wrestling Revolution, so I'm helping them out at the school there whenever I have some time, which is very rare. But I am down there helping them out with their school and their federation. So that's what I'm doing currently.
Very cool, very cool. Now, you mentioned that you have some of the most loyal fans out there, and there have been some emails that have come in from loyal fans that you have telling us to ask you some questions, some of which we actually popped in here already. So you gotta be pretty cool. It's pretty cool to have the fan base that you do based on the fact that you haven't had the necessarily wrestling television time that some might have the luxury of having had.
Right. I love my fans. You know, it was funny because another show that I just did recently was telling me, you know, that he goes, you know, Brim, he goes, you're actually one of the most popular interviews that I've had. He goes, you know, everybody always asks questions, they always want to hear it, you know, it's one of the most listened to, and, you know, it makes me blush. I said, what makes me any better than anybody else? You know, I'm honored that people want to listen to me. And the fact that he said to me, he goes, you know, what I feel is that, he said that you're, what did he say to me, to be exact? He said, he goes, because what they say is that you represent the underground, but you have mainstream appeal. And I was just floored. I said, wow, I think that's great. And you know, I try to be as real as possible. You know, I try to spend as much time as possible with fans. You know, I'm always, when I do an appearance, I'm the first one in the building. I'm the last one to leave. You know, I try to spend, if somebody's talking to me, I sit and I talk to them. You know, you know, if somebody wants something, you know, I spend, you know, if somebody wants to do an interview, I sit and do the interview. You know, I mean, I'm always running around, but, you know, I always spend time because I love the fans and I like to give back, you know, to the fans and to the community, and I work hard, you know, I really do. And I think that comes across. I hope it does, and I guess that's the way it seems, you know.
Very cool, very cool. We've experienced a little bit of that. It was really weird. I'll give you a quick story. We actually had, probably for different reasons, we had Hulk Hogan on the show a few years ago. And the next week we had Tylene Buck on the show.
Tylene.
And now go figure this one out, because for me, doing a wrestling show, my first thought is Hogan's going to floor everybody. And he did. I mean, we got huge numbers. We crashed the servers of the radio station. It was insane. But then I looked at the stats of the website, and the interview that got the most listen of the two was Tylene Buck. I was like, what the hell?
It's a woman.
Oh, my God, she's got boobs.
It's a very colorful past.
Like I said, it's a women's world. We just live in it, and we just better be happy that we live in it. That's all.
Absolutely. Well, I got to close out with the question that Pat Shirk and I always ask as the last question. Pat, you want to take this one?
Sure. This, like James has said, we've been asking this question to all of our guests recently, and it pertains to the Chris Benoit tragedy that happened, I believe, about a year and a half ago now. And what we wanted to ask you about was, what was your opinion of how the media responded to pro wrestling and how they demeaned pro wrestling during that time period and kind of did everything in their power to try and bring wrestling down?
Well, when that happened, I got bombarded with questions just like this. Well, not just like this, but just about the whole Benoit incident. And you know, the one thing that I will always say is you can't judge an entire industry by one person's actions. Just because he did what he did and the things that he might have been doing, you know what I mean, that doesn't mean that everybody in the industry is doing it. And that's the way I felt that the media was kind of lashing out on the whole business in general. And, you have your people in the business that do the things they do, but I'm sure that doesn't cause them to do what he did either. And I think that they kind of went a little overboard, completely bashing wrestling again for one person's actions. So, hey, that's all I can really say about that. I hope that answers your question.
It's interesting that you mentioned it. There's a couple things I've been mentioning. I usually use an example from Nancy Grace, but I'll use one of Patrick's examples. Watching Fox News at the time, Bill O'Reilly was trying to make it out that Benoit was a sociopath because he broke Sabu's neck in the past.
Yeah.
Just an example.
Yeah. Well, you know what? People are ignorant, and that's the way it's always going to be. And people are people, and that's life. L'chaim. There's nothing we can do about it. People are just the way they are, and you know what? It's always whatever you do, somebody's going to attack it. Somebody's attacking SpongeBob. You know what I mean? Right now, as we speak, I'm sure. Somebody's attacking at the same time, Law and Order for one of their episodes, I'm sure. Somebody is, attacking the school because they fed the children chicken nuggets at lunch. You know what I mean? So, of course, you've got ignorant people who are going to sit and, talk about wrestling, as a barbaric, disgusting sport. And you know what? It is what it is. Let them think what they're going to think. We know what it is, the people that are involved in it, the people who love it, and the people who will always love it. You know what I mean? So that's my answer for that.
There was a time when I actually wore a T-shirt, it was a wrestling T-shirt, and somebody made a comment about wrestling, and for some reason all I kept thinking was the Popeye phrase, I am what I am, and that's all that I am.
That's right. Hey, look, you got to accept wrestling for what it is. You have to kind of get rid of, reality for a while and take, just release yourself and just enjoy wrestling for what it is. And what it is it's good entertainment. You know what I mean? It's a lot of fun. It's, balls to the wall action and just full of twists, turns, and surprises. And good wrestling, there's always a good story. There's always a solid story for people to sit and watch and understand and enjoy. And you know what? That's why we love what we do, and that's why you love the sport and love to do what you do. Correct?
Absolutely. Indeed. All right. Well, this has been Brimstone right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com, and we are going to close out this episode. So, Brim, why don't we give you the opportunity? You mentioned you're a big music buff, and all the people you were telling me you're hanging out with members of Twisted Sister and Winger recently. So we usually play a little song to kind of send us off. So why don't we only did it once before, was with Test. Why don't we let you choose? What is our exit song going to be?
What's our exit song going to be? Do you have the new Chinese Democracy album?
We do have the new Chinese Democracy album.
Why don't we go out with Chinese Democracy for old Bumble?
Very cool. All right, thanks so much.
Make sure to check me out on my website, www.entrancetohell.com, people. Hey, this is Brimstone, and you're listening to Wrestling